Hello, this is Jody Cornelius, and this is my Illustrator snapshot on Kevin Henkes. And it is pronounced Henkes, not Hankies or anything like that. Just FYI. Anyway, Kevin Henkes, quick biography. He was born November 27th, 1960 in Racine, Wisconsin, and today he lives in Madison. He is a lifelong lover of books and reading, and his love of reading and everything has been supported by his family and teachers throughout his entire life. He began writing and illustrating in high school. He attended the University of Wisconsin-Madison, majoring in art. While he was there, he wrote his first picture book, which we'll cover in a little bit. As of this presentation, he has written and illustrated over 50 books, from picture books to early readers to middle grade novels. All of his books have very similar themes, all involving sensitivity with a little bit of humor and mostly realistic portrayals of emotions. He's probably best known for his series of mouse books. It's a series of picture books and now early readers as well that star these anthropomorphic mouse characters. He married Laura Dronzik in 1985, and she has actually illustrated some of his books, including O in 1999, Birds in 2009, When Spring Comes in 2016, Finding Things in 2024, and more. Uh, just a quick selected bibliography. This is far from an exhaustive list, but it does give a through line of his titles. You can see here. His newest book as of this presentation will be Still Spring, coming out in February 2026. A quick selected awards and recognitions. Again, this is not an exhaustive list, but some of the awards and recognitions Henkes has received. Caldecott Honor for Owen, Charlotte Zolito Awards for multiple books of his, the Newbery Honor for All Is Ocean and The Year of Billy Miller, and the Caldecott Medal for Kitten's First Full Moon. So let's look at some of his books. His very first book that he published, All Alone, was published in 1981 by Green Willow Books. It is a short book about a boy alone with his thoughts. Pencil and watercolor illustrations throughout the book. It's an art style that Henkes uses throughout his career. The book has a quiet, reflective tone that is a cornerstone feature of many of Henkes' books. And minimal text, very expressive illustrations. Let's look at some of the illustrations here. This is the original cover. I think the newer printing feels more aligned with the actual writing and artwork of the book itself. This is a close-up of the first illustration that you see when you first open the book, showcasing Henkes' use of pencil and watercolor to create a lot of motion in his artwork. These next few will show how the book is laid out. The first one shows the contemplative mood of his work. This next one, again, it shows the boy, his connection to the world and how he sees the world and his place in it. And this last one, it showcases the boy's imagination. He's imagining that he is small enough to hide behind a stone. Imagination is a big part of Henkes' books as well. A few reviews of All Alone. Elizabeth Holtz from School Library Journal wrote, "The young boy who appears in each of the soft landscapes drawn in gray pastels finds that when he is alone, he notices more about what his senses of sight, hearing, and smell can tell him." Touching on the way that the book balances wistfulness, Holtz writes, "The author-artist tries to avoid the negative side of these emotions by drawing in almost exclusively the back of the boy's head or his profile." Kirkus reviews. They stated that the writing was somewhat trite, but regarding the illustrations, the reviewer wrote, "Henkes paints with a delicate palette, and the illustrations have a degree of feeling." For Publishers Weekly, at age 21, Henkes has already won prizes for the kind of painting that enchant one in his first book. Muted colors and delicate lines reflect the sensitivity of the text. And the review concludes with, the quietly lovely book can encourage children to avail themselves of what everyone needs, private moments all alone. Next, let's look at Bailey Goes Camping. This is a precursor to Henkes's Mouse books. He wrote a couple of these books starring these rabbit characters before he moved on to the mice, which became kind of his staple. Book is about Bailey. Bailey's older siblings get to go camping, but Bailey is, quote, too little, so he needs to stay home. And it deals with the feelings that a child would have being kind of left out like that. But Bailey gets to, quote unquote, camp at home with his parents. They make the best of the situation. Very similar themes to his mouse books. It demonstrates Henkes' understanding of children and the way that they can view the world, what is fair and unfair to them, what makes them unique. Some of the illustrations inside the book. Henkes is great at portraying emotions on his cartoon characters. You can see here Bailey is looking sad. Here his brother and sister are talking about the things they're going to do while camping, and they're very excited. Bailey, again in the corner, you can see the sad look on his face, feeling left out. I love this piece here. Bailey is looking wistfully at his siblings leaving. The height of the plants all around him show not only that they are rabbits, so they're not human size, but Bailey himself feels small. And it really shows that. His parents find ways to get him to feel like he's on the camping trip as well, so he won't feel left out. Like they set up a tent and tell ghost stories and stuff like that. And you can see his parents here, they're talking to him. Actually, in this image, they are telling ghost stories. And you can see Bailey's smile, like he doesn't feel left out anymore. Few reviews of Bailey Goes Camping. Anne Krauss for Children's Book Review Service. She states, "It isn't often that a book comes along that truly captures the world of the small child. Bailey Goes Camping does this successfully with wit and warmth." Donna Buchanan Berrigan for School Library Journal writes, "The pale blues, grays, purples, and soft yellows of the watercolor and pencil drawings are a soothing complement to the quiet text." Referring to the characters and their design, Buchanan Berrigan writes, "The rabbits, who show human expressions, are drawn in a simple cartoon style with human clothing and household accoutrements." But at this point, let's take a moment to read some of Henkes' mouse characters. We're going to focus on 4 for this presentation. Wendell, Chester, Lily, and Wimberly. The others, Chrysanthemum, Lily's brother Julius, Owen, Penny, Sheila Ray, they all show up in their own stories as well as in background characters in each other's books. Our first book we're going to look at is A Weekend with Wendell. This was Henkes' first mouse book. Wendell gets dropped off at Sophie's house while his parents are going out of town. Sophie is not a fan of Wendell. She thinks that he's bossy and annoying. He wants to be in charge of all the games they play. He wants to tell her exactly what to do. He is a very annoying child. His Sophie's parents seem to agree with that. So frustrated, Sophie decides to give Wendell a taste of his own medicine she starts being the bossy one. The two of them, they learn to play together, and Sophie realizes that maybe Wendell isn't so bad after all. Her parents, still not quite at the end, but small steps, Some of the artwork here. This is the first page. You can see the apprehension that's on Sophie's face with Wendell coming to stay for the weekend. And then even Sophie's parents start getting annoyed with Wendell's antics. This little bit of text in the actual panel, you can see Wendell's trying to call the North Pole. That's a hallmark of Henkes' books. Another hallmark of Henkes' books are drawings and notes that the characters create. So in this one, Wendell is leaving a note for Sophie, and you can see how he knows he's teasing her. And this last one, I love this drawing. When Sophie and Wendell start getting along, this sense of motion reminds me a lot of All Alone. Some reviews of A Weekend with Wendell. Publishers Weekly, discussing the story of the book, the reviewer noted, "Henkes keeps text to a minimum and lets the postures of his mice children speak volumes. Sophie's quivering eyebrows alone could carry most of this tale." Eileen Cooper for Booklist, commenting on the artwork, Cooper writes, The pen and ink drawings colored in spiffy pastels are full of fun, with sly expressions worth noting. And Betsy Hearn for the Bulletin for Children's Books writes, the soft, neatly framed watercolors complement the funny text with the characters' expressive faces and postures, extending the story without overwhelming it. Henkes' mouse characters often get praised for their facial expressions, and if you look through the examples that I have and just through his books in general, you can see a lot of expressions that he makes his characters have. Next book we're going to look at is Chester's Way. This was actually the third mouse book after A Weekend with Wendell and Sheila Ray the Brave. This was actually the first book of his that I ever read. I read it back when I was a kid, and it made me immediately love his work. I've been a fan ever since. It follows Chester and his best friend Wilson, two peas in a pod, as his parents say. Chester and Wilson are both very proper and very polite children. This book introduces Lily, who is arguably Henkes' most famous character. When Chester and Wilson are being bullied by some older kids, Lily comes to their rescue. When Chester and Wilson are first trying to figure out about Lily, they see that she has a lot of different costumes she wears, so she actually jumps out at these kids who are bullying them, wearing this cat mask, and scares them away. Cats, mice, you know. The three of them fast become a trio of best friends. Some of the artwork, just to show. The first page, again, like the one image in Wendell, you can see Henkes' use of additional text. Again, it shows up very often in his work. Here's a page. You can see Chester and Wilson, two peas in a pod, doing everything together. I love this scene. It's a great example of Henkes' way to portray emotions so well. You can see how scared and worried, and yet at the same time not alone, Wilson feels after he accidentally swallows a watermelon seed, and he's terrified that a watermelon's going to grow inside of him. So Chester, his friend, swallows one so they don't have to do it alone. Here's the first appearance of Lily, tying back to that first page with the text and showing the contrast between the two characters. Chester is quiet and reserved. Lily is loud and boisterous. You can see Lily jumping out at the boys with her cat costume, scaring the boys away. And then they all become best friends. Some of the reviews. Kirkus listed Lily as an imaginative hellion. That's the introduction of Lily. Next to prim and proper Chester and Wilson, Lily kind of demonstrates to the boys the importance of creativity and making life more interesting. The reviewer states, Henkes' pungent dialogue is amusing and his illustrations engaging. Using 2 or 3 vignettes per page, he represents his character's mouse size, which emphasizes what comically tidy, particular little people Chester and Wilson are. Publisher's Weekly Review. The artist/author, as always, gently grants room for differences between people. Behind each book is a wide-open heart, one readers can't help but respond to, that makes all of Henkes' books, and especially this one, of special value to children. And Anne A. Flowers for the Hornbook Magazine writes, Kevin Henkes, well known for his strong empathy with the feelings of children, has shown his characters as delightful little mice, expressive physically as well as verbally. The virtues of variety and experimentation on the one hand, and friendship on the other, are deftly handled in this amusing, believable story. All right, we're going to take a look at Lily's Purple Plastic Purse. This book is probably his most famous of the mouse books, at least. Lily loves school. She's excited to bring her new purple plastic purse that she got over the weekend to school to show off it. She's got jingling coins. The purse plays a little tune every time it's opened. You can imagine how that goes. Her teacher, Mr. Slinger, noticing the distraction, gently takes the purse away until the end of the day. This causes Lily to become quite upset and disillusioned with her previous love of school and her teacher. So she writes this mean note to Mr. Slinger, puts it in his bag, and she thinks she's getting back at him. At the end of the day, Mr. Slinger returns the purse with a note and a snack. Lily realizes the mistake she made. She spends the entire evening after school feeling bad for what she did, realizing that Mr. Slinger is a really great teacher. So she decides she's going to write a new note to Mr. Slinger apologizing for her behavior, And the book concludes with the two getting along even better than before. Some of the artwork. This is the first illustration of Lily in the book. Fun little fact about me, I actually have this tattooed on my left wrist because I love Lily. I love Kevin Henkes. It's a very important part of my life. Here is Mr. Slinger. You can see on Lily's face how enamored Lily is with her teacher. And later on, you can see Chester and Wilson and Victor, all from Chester's Way, make a return. You'll see the different characters show up in each other's books a lot. You can see here Lily playing teacher, kind of doing it a little differently than what Mr. Slinger seems to do. You can see her little brother Julius does not seem to like this very much. This is a first drawing Lily did of Mr. Slinger. Again, that hallmark of Henkes is to have those in-universe drawings and also these little asides from the different characters. And here you can see Lily so excited about the new purse she got over the weekend. After Mr. Slinger takes away the purse, you can see, I love this little set of drawings. You can see how Lily goes from annoyed to angry to hatching a plan to following through with it. Here's the mean drawing that Lily did of Mr. Slinger. Here you can see when Lily discovers that Mr. Slinger didn't do it to be mean. I love the dialogue choice that Henkes chose for Mr. Slinger, writing, quote, "Today was a difficult day. Tomorrow will be better." And you can see in the drawing how it makes Lily feel small. Lily is so distraught about being mean that she punishes herself before deciding to do something about it. She writes a new note for Mr. Slinger apologizing and draws a nice picture of him, as well as this great drawing of herself in the bottom right of her drawing there. That may end up being another tattoo of mine eventually because I love that illustration of a character illustrating themselves. I just find that very amusing. I really like the way that Henkes used the words here to show how Lily is apologizing so profusely with all the reallys. Really, 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 really sorry. Again, it shows off her age well. And again, the face, Henkes portrays emotions so well with so few lines, just a little touch of the eyebrow and the little sweat drops flying. It's really fantastic. And of course, Mr. Slinger accepts her apology and they're friends again. Some of the reviews. Marianne Siccardi for School Library Journal writes, "Rich vocabulary and just the right amount of repetition fuse perfectly with the watercolor and black ink illustrations. With a few deft strokes, Henkes changes Lily's facial expressions and body language to reveal a full range of emotions. When she realizes how unfair she has been, Lily shrinks smaller and smaller. When all ends well, she leaps for joy in her familiar red boots right out of the picture frame." Diane Roebuck for Publishers Weekly writes, "Caldecott honoree Henkes understands Lily's enthusiasm for her prized possessions, but astutely shows that Lily goes too far when she acts up in class. The perfectionistic watercolor and ink illustrations in vignettes and panels are as sharp as the narration. Henkes communicates Lily's emotions through her eyes, so that when she goes from sad to furious, her eyebrows shift from U-shaped dips to hard slants. He also enlivens his scenes with tiny details like Mr. Slinger's copy of Stuart Little. The author/artist uses useful, timeless advice for apologizing to a friend and resolving a conflict, a sympathetic and wise treatment." Mary M. Burns for The Hornbook, um, referring to Lily as, quote, "the Ramona Quimby of picture books." Burns discusses the plot of the story and how it ties into the art. Burns explains how Henkes portrays Lily as loving school. Ample justification for her attitude through a series of masterfully executed vignettes celebrating pointy pencils, squeaky chalk, long shiny hallways for running, one's own personal desk, and lunch with fish sticks and chocolate milk every Friday. Describing Mr. Slinger, she writes, "Mr. Slinger, whose patterned shirts, brilliant ties, elegant glasses, and people-centered methods confer instant popularity. She loves school until he takes away her purse, of course." Uh, On the conclusion of the story, she writes, with the help of her parents and the understanding Mr. Slinger, Lily puts her world to rights in a sensitively crafted, dazzlingly logical conclusion that teaches more about good manners than any number of manuals. And she concludes her review with Kevin Henkes just gets better with each book. A skilled caricaturist, he conveys variations in mood with economy and charm. His concepts have enough subtle humor to entertain adults without ignoring his intended audience. His texts are precise and imaginative. His illustrations remarkable for expressive lines, delicate hatching, and superb composition. As Lily and her classmates would say, wow. All right, the last book we're going to cover today, Wimberly Worried, published in 2000. It introduces another new character to Henkes's mouse books. It follows Wimberly, a young mouse girl who worries about everything, quote, big things, little things, and everything in between. When she starts school, she worries even more. She feels overwhelmed and alone. But she meets another girl at the school who worries just as much as she does, and they bond over their similarities. Wimberly learns that it's okay to worry and that she's not alone. Henkes does this without belittling or ignoring the real worries that people, especially children, have. He demonstrates that it's okay to worry. It doesn't mean that something is wrong with you. A couple of the illustrations. Here's Wimberly worrying. She worries and she worries and she worries. And sometimes her worries feel so big that it's all she can think about. She feels overwhelmed. I love the font size choice and the question marks and everything. It really sells the effect of being that child who is incredibly anxious and overwhelmed and just worried about everything. When she's at school, Wimberly meets Jewel. They bond over the ways that they help with their own worries. Nobody makes fun of anybody because they know how each other feel. Through finding a friend like her, Wimberly learns that even though she worries, she doesn't have to feel so alone. A few reviews of Wimberly Worried. Diane Roebuck for Publishers Weekly writes, Henkes introduces another wonderfully appealing child mouse with a stubborn habit, worrying. Wimberly, a shy white mouse with gray spots, always feels nervous whether home or away. Roebuck comments that Henkes, quote, adroitly juggles the main narrative, hand-lettered asides, and watercolor and ink imagery of the young pessimist and her supportive parents. Each element contributes to a different strength. While another author may try to convince the reader to ignore or overcome their worries, Roebuck reminds the reader to, quote, Henkes offers no pat solutions, handling the material with uncanny empathy and gentleness. While playing with her new friend Jewel, Wimberly worried, but no more than usual. Kitty Flynn for the Horn Book. With text and art perfectly integrated, the vibrant panel illustrations help tell the story and small asides extend the text. As always, Henkes zeroes in on a familiar childhood emotion, feeling helpless in an uncontrollable world, and brings it compassionately to the surface. Flynn concludes her review as follows. Henkes' picture books make finding your way in the world a little less daunting. And I think that's just a great like button on Henkes as an author, as a creator, as an illustrator. Doug Ward in the New York Times, his review of Wimberly Worried, writes, Kevin Henkes has a way with mice. He makes them human, and therein lies the charm of characters like Lily, whose headstrong ways get her into trouble in Lily's Purple Plastic Purse in Julius, the Baby of the World, and like Chrysanthemum, whose name causes her angst in Chrysanthemum. This is the strength of Henkes not only as an illustrator, but as a storyteller. He continually finds ways to deeply relate his characters to the childhood experience, creating stories that demonstrate to children and adults alike that the way you are is okay. The way you experience the world is real. Feelings you have are real, and they deserve to be acknowledged with compassion and dignity. Henkes' work portrays quiet emotional honesty in ways that few other author/illustrators reach. His works are tremendously memorable, respectful, honest, and reassuring. And that's it. Thank you.